All right, welcome everyone to my Sunday stock watch. It is for the week of September 7th, 2025, and we have a pretty big week for news. So let's get right into it. Monday is actually going to be no news Monday, which you're going to want to size down on your positions, please, because when we have no news Monday, the market is normally choppy. Tuesday, we also don't have a whole lot going on for Tuesday. Non-farm payrolls, annual revision, little something to watch for. But not a whole lot going on for Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we actually have PPI data coming out. And we know last month, PPI came in higher than expected, meaning inflation was rising again. So if it comes higher again this month, not a very great sign, okay? So again, Wednesday, please do not bet on that. I would say no swing trades going into Monday. I'm sorry, into Wednesday, just because that comes out an hour before the market opens. Now, Thursday, we have CPI data, just as important as PPI, and that also comes out an hour before the market opens. So, again, please just overall this week, be careful trading these news events. And then Friday, not a whole lot going on besides consumer sentiment, which comes out 30 minutes after the market is open. So, most important news events this week: Wednesday, PPI, Thursday, CPI data. So, please, please, please be very careful going into this next week. Now, let's take a look at overnight market right now. QQQ is currently sitting at 578. So, we did get a little bit of relief from Friday after that downside that we had. And then a couple other names that I'm looking at: Coin, MSTR. MSTR is down still quite a bit. Coin is up about almost $2 there. Circle is still down a lot. These are just names that I'm looking at. Netflix is back up. And Palantir is back up as well slightly. So kind of unchanged from Friday close just a bit, except QQQ is up nicely from Friday close. So that is something to be aware of. But yeah, going into this next week, a couple things that I'm looking for is going into tomorrow. Again, no news Monday. I'm not expecting the market to give us a whole lot. I do expect us to be pretty range bound. Since we are currently trading around this 577 range, I would expect us not to really break above 580 on no news Monday. We most likely will stay between 576 to that 579 to 580 range. I'm really not expecting a whole lot, but going forward with this next week, depending on how data comes out, if we do come out bullish, obviously you already know Tuesday we might get some downside, and then Wednesday, once that news report comes out, we might just skyrocket back up to that 580 range on QQQ. So I'd expect us to see down to around 574 to 573 range, and then just get a major bounce back up to 580 and maybe even above 580 depending on news. If we don't see that, I do expect going into tomorrow we will trade a bit higher. Tuesday as well, potentially may tap into 580 range, and then we will get probably a nice amount of downside. I would say at least down to 570, maybe potentially even into 569 to 68 area. Again, this is just depending on news if it comes out bearish or bullish. So we'll really just have to wait and see, but that's kind of the range I'm expecting for this next week. Same sort of deal with SPY, except pretty interesting stuff. SPY broke all-time highs last week, while QQQ did not and was a little bit far off from all-time highs. So they are a little bit uncorrelated right now, which is something to be more aware of. But SPY is currently sitting at 648.59. So again, we are up a bit from Friday close, which is nice, but I do expect us to potentially stay within the same range. Maybe test all-time highs once again pre-news, and if news comes out bad, we will be, getting a major dump. And pre-news, if we are trading lower, I would expect us to trade down to around 6, 43 to 44 range. News comes out bullish, we absolutely skyrocket, we tap into all-time highs, potentially break all-time highs once again. So that's kind of the general range I'm looking at for SPY this next week, around that 642, 6 to 640, up to all-time highs at that 652. So again, just depends on overall general move we are going to get. Tesla. Um, Tesla, I'll give you guys a little tip on Tesla. I've been really liking Tesla recently. Higher highs, higher lows on high time frames, like the daily time frame. So I do think we could definitely potentially see a nice breakout out of Tesla. I'm looking to see above this 554.60 range, and then to just get a major bounce back up, to potentially 565 to 365 to 370 area on Tesla. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, unless we do get another reject at 360 area, because that is very possible and potential. So that is what I'm looking for on Tesla this next week. If it ends up chopping around or getting some downside, I'm not really going to be paying a whole lot of attention to it, because that's not the setup that I'm looking for on Tesla. So again, I do want to see above that 354 range on Tesla, break above there to get a nice continuation and bounce up. Now, next few names that I'm looking at obviously are always MSTR and Coinbase. So right now Bitcoin is trading back up a bit at 111. So just taking a look, Coinbase is back up above 300. Well, MSTR is down still a good amount. It's sitting at 328. And I think that's just more due to fundamentals of the company versus trading with Bitcoin. So I might be a little bit hands off from MSTR going into this next week. But yeah, so with Bitcoin trading here, we can either see, back up to this 112 range and get a nice reject. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Get a reject right up around 112 and get some downside, maybe back into 110, even 109 range. So yeah, I'm mainly going to be watching Coinbase. I'm not even going to go over MSTR. So Coinbase, quite a bit of downside from Friday. But yeah, I do want to see a break again below 300 now that it's sitting above there. And I would love to see back down into even like 280 to 275 range on Coinbase if Bitcoin does get downside. I'm just not really expecting a whole lot of bullishness from Bitcoin right now. So again, we'll see what happens there. If we do end up getting upside on Bitcoin and Coinbase continues to hold up 300, then I am looking for a bounce back into 315 range. That's normally where we do get a rejection off there. So yeah. The next couple names that I'm looking at is Palantir. Palantir has been a really good stock to trade recently. It's had a lot of nice movement just for intraday trading. So currently sitting at 153. If we do see it go up tomorrow, I would expect it to go up around to 158 range and then get a reject from there. So I'm not super short term. I'm not really bullish on Palantir. I do expect us to see a little bit more downside, especially if news comes out poorly. But I don't expect the downside to be tomorrow or Tuesday. Just gonna wait it out. But yeah, I would love to see back up to 158 before we do get, another wave of downside on Palantir, and we could definitely see into this 145 area to even down to 142 range. So that's kind of basically the range that I'm looking at on Palantir. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go over Netflix as not Netflix. I don't like Netflix how it's setting up. I'm gonna go over Meta. Meta looks like it could be good. So Meta, either two scenarios. I'm expecting us to see some downside back into 745 range, and then we get a nice bounce back up to 756 to 760 even. That's kind of what the first case scenario I'm expecting, or we do get some upside and we reject this 757 area, and then we trade back into that 745. So those are the kind of like the two setups that I'm watching for and looking for on Meta. So yeah, those are all the names that I'm looking for going into this next week. Not a whole lot of tickers. I am mostly going to try to stay, hands off Monday and Tuesday, and then see what happens on Wednesday with PPI data coming out, and then Thursday with CPI data coming out. So I suggest you do the exact same. Don't crowd up your watch list with a million different tickers and try to trade a bunch of names. You should be more risk adverse. You should be a little bit more hands off this next week and maybe size down a fair amount on your positions. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful week in the markets. Continue to do good. But yeah, I will see you all